Just under a year ago, I made a video called UCAT All You Need to Know. And in that video, I spoke all about the UCAT exam, what it's used for, which universities use it, what are some of the example questions, and also how to prepare for it. Today, I am working with Medify to bring to you a video all about how to effectively prepare and practice for the UCAT exam using a number of the tools and features that Medify has to offer on their website. For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Atousa and I'm a first year student on the graduate medicine course at the University of Birmingham. Now, back when I was applying for medicine and I was preparing to take my UCAT exam, I first came across Medify when a friend of mine who was already studying medicine at King's recommended it to me. And it was around this time when I was making a video series called Medicine Diaries, where I was documenting my journey and talking about the application process. And in one of my videos, I mentioned that I had been using Medify. Now, one of Medify's team members saw this video and got in touch with me and asked if I wanted my subscription to be extended. And that was a really, really kind thing for them to offer because I mentioned their product in one of my videos, which they really didn't have to do. But since then, we've worked together on a number of videos, and this is going to be a product review all about some of the features of the UCAT specifically. So as I said, in today's video, I'm going to be making a product review of some of the UCAT features that Medify has to offer. And I think Medify is a fantastic tool, and especially since UCAT has expanded to universities in New Zealand and Australia, I think it's a really, really good tool that a lot of students can benefit from. Alright, with all of that said, let's get into the review. Now, for the purpose of this video, I have tried to up my technical skills and I'm going to be doing a screen capture. So hopefully you should be seeing my screen right now and my face should be in a little box somewhere else on the screen. So if you guys see me looking down, it's because I've got my laptop right here in front of me, so you'll be able to see what I'm doing as I'm talking you through. Okay, so as you can see, I am on the Medify front page right now. And you can see here that they've got a number of tabs, and they have things such as BMAT, personal statement, work experience, interviews, and a blog, as well as a section for the UCAT. Now, I'm not going to go into any of those today, but I have made a video recently called BMAT, All You Need to Know, and in there I do speak about some of the features that Medify has to offer. So, with that said, let's just click on the BMAT tab, the UCAT tab, and let's get started. Alright, so once you've clicked on the UCAT tab, you can see that the first thing here is the UCAT 2020 online course. And the way that they've done it is they've divided it into 3 sections. So you've got a learn section, a practice, and a simulate. So essentially, learn is getting familiar with everything, practice is practicing a bunch of questions, and the simulate is doing lots of mock exams to really, really prepare you for the final exam. Now, there are 2 things that I want to show you guys before we go through each of these sections. And the first one here is the video tutorials. Now, I know some of you would have already come across the UCAT before and might know a little bit about the exam, but if you have no idea, if you're completely new to it, then I think these video tutorials are a really, really good way to start, and it'll get you familiar with what exactly the exam is, what are the sections, and what is expected of you for each of those sections. So let's have a look. Let's say, I'll show you a short clip actually from one of these. Okay. So this is the UCAT advice for the SJT, which is the situational judgment section. Now let's play, get my volume up. Oh,
we wish you.
I'm at the end of the video for some reason. Okay, there we go.
The 5th and final section is the SJT. This assesses your ability on interpersonally orientated skills and ethical values rather than knowledge or clinical skills. This is important because doctors are professionals who must be ethical and be able to work effectively in a team. Scandals have marred the reputations of the medical profession and hospitals this last decade.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave it then. But basically that's just one of the 9 tutorial videos, and you have all of the other stuff as well, which is amazing. Alright, so if we just scroll to the bottom of the page, you get to this tracker/calendar, and this has got to be one of my favourite features of Medify. And basically what it is a calendar where you can put in the date of your UCAT exam, and you can see that for every day that you use the website to practice, it will flag up how much you've done. Now, it says that I've done some work for the last 2 days because, guys, this is my 3rd attempt at making this video, because the other 2 times that I did, I had an issue with audio. So I'm praying that this video actually comes out okay. So, you can see here that you can press Edit UCAT Date, and I don't know, let's say that you have booked to sit your exam on July the 4th of July. Oh, that's not intentional. Okay, but let's say you plan to take your exam on the 4th of July. You can see that it says that that's your exam date, and that you have got 92 days until then. And I think this is such a good way to keep on top of your practice and make sure that you're doing enough. And what I really like is that it literally tells you individually on individual days how much you've done. So on the 1st of April, I did 4 questions. On the 2nd of April, I also did 4 questions. And today, I have done 0. So yeah, if you're like me and you struggle to sort of organize yourself and track your progress, then I think this is great because it essentially does all of it for you. All right, so after that, let's just scroll to the top of the page to this UCAT checklist feature, which is again another one of the really helpful features of Medify. So when you scroll through, you can see that basically everything you need to do is divided for you into really helpful, chunkable sections. So it starts off with the understanding, and you can go through some of the things here. For example, if you can qualify for a bursary, a guide on the UCAT exam, understanding the format, and it even talks about which universities require, or like which medical schools require this exam. And again, as I said, if you're completely new to the UCAT, this is amazing because all of the information you could possibly need is in one place. So scrolling down, after you've got a basic understanding, you have got a section on assessing your current level, and basically you can take an official practice and then get to know how well you do, which sections you're strongest at, which sections you're weakest at, and then from then you can sort of tailor your practice. Then obviously there are sections such as setting up, practicing, reviewing your progress, doing practice mini-mocks, further reviewing, and so on. And again, if you have a look on this side of the page here, you also have a tracker, which once again is a brilliant way to keep you on track and make sure that you're actually progressing through the sections. By all means, you don't have to go through every single thing if you don't feel like you need it, but should you need it, pretty much everything is right here for you to work through. Alright, now we can go back to the main page where you've got the 3 sections, and I can talk to you a little bit about each of these, starting with Learn. So when you click on the Learn section, immediately you can see that there are a number of tutorials breaking up each section into the individual questions. As I said, the UCAT is divided into 5 sections, and I've spoken more about this in my UCAT All You Need to Know video, which I'll link below. But basically, you have your 5 sections, and what I really like about the Learn section here is that within each of the 5 sections, Medify has divided each section into questions you can get within each section, if that makes sense. So for example here, you've got the verbal reasoning section, and that has been divided up into all of the different questions that are part of that. So true, false, can't tell, reading comprehension, word definitions, author's opinions, etc. And again, this is a really good way to hone in on your weaknesses and strengths, because you could not be as confident in verbal reasoning, for example, but within that section you could feel super confident with qualifiers, let's say, but not very confident on authors' opinions. And because it's divided up like this, you can just click on the section that you need the most help with, and here you can see that has been divided into an overview, common exam questions, and summary. And also, something else I want to mention is that in addition to all of this, to all of these sections and subsections of things that you can work through, one thing that I always pick up on is that the tutorial section here also includes tutorials on keyboard shortcuts and flagging. And by flagging, I mean flagging up the questions to come back to later. And the reason why I pick up on this is because it's so important to be able to know as many of these little tips and tricks that can save you time in the actual exam. And if you go through these tutorials and get a bit more familiar with the shortcuts you can use on the computer, and also some tips and tricks about how to flag questions, how to triage questions, knowing all of these things and getting familiar with a strategy, I think is just as important for how well you end up doing in the end. So yeah, I think kudos to Medify for including those two. Alright, now let's go back again and we can look through the practice section. Okay. So when you click on the practice section, you can see again each section of the UCAT exam is here with plenty of questions for you to work through. And right now, as you can see, we are on the study tab. And basically the study tab is a bunch of questions, things aren't timed, and you can work through at your own pace and get familiar. So let's just say we go on verbal reasoning, and it will immediately give you a question. So let's just pick some random answers. Can't tell. Okay, so now that you've answered that question, and I've just quickly gone through and selected some answers, but once you've done that, you can come around here and press mark test. Are you sure you want to mark this test? Okay. And it's doing the marking right now. Alright, brilliant. Okay, 50-50 chance. There you go. So you can see that it's marked my answers and it's telling me that I've got 2 correct and 2 incorrect. Now, if I want to get feedback for each individual question, I just have to press here on the first question, for example. So here, as you can see, this was a question that I got wrong. And here it will tell you, so this is what I picked. So I picked false. This is the correct answer. And this here where it says popularity is dependent on other users of Medify, and it compares the answers you give to what other students who also use this product give. So you can see that most students have actually said true, although the answer is can't tell. And actually, when you scroll down a little bit here, it will explain to you why the correct answer is the correct answer or why the wrong answer is the wrong answer. And that is a really, really good way for you to get more of an understanding of what the questions ask for and get feedback immediately. And one final thing that I really like is that it has a section on time here. And as I said, these aren't timed, but it does tell you, it says you've spent 5 seconds on this question and the mean average time for correct response is 1 minute. So again, it compares how long you spend on a question to the average of other students, which is also a really, really good way for you to kind of gauge your level and where you're at, on average. And then you can just go through the rest of the questions exactly the same, and it will give you a feedback of what the answers are and explaining why you got something right or wrong. And there you have it. So if I just say return to overview, all right. And yeah, so as I said, as you can see, you can do that for all of the sections here and work your way through all of these. So right next to the study tab, you can also do a timed practice. And when you go on the time practice tab, you can choose either 10, 20, 30 or 40 questions that you want to answer. And for each of the sections, it will tell you how much time you'll be given. So for example, to answer 10 questions of abstract reasoning, you'll be given 2 minutes and 22 seconds. But let's say you want to do 30, it will give you 7 minutes and 6 seconds. And the format of this is exactly the same. So you can, let's say, do the 10 questions, answer them all within the time that you're given, then you can mark the test, and then you can go through and see what you got right, see what you got wrong, and just get a bit of a feedback. Alright, but now if we go back here, there are 2 more tabs here. If we click on the performance tab, you can see that the more practice you do, Medify will actually keep data about your performance. And just here, it gives you a comparison of your score compared to the mean average Medify user. So obviously here, because I've only answered like a couple of questions, it says that my score is 25% for verbal reasoning, whereas the average score for other students is 59. So as I said, these are average scores, but I think it is a good opportunity here for you to be able to gauge where you are at roughly. And lastly, there is a history tab. And similar to the calendar tracker that you saw on the front page, it shows you how many questions you've done and how much practice you've done in each of the days going through. And if you scroll down here, it'll tell you like exactly the time and date. So really, really, really good to track your progress. I know that's definitely something I didn't do much of when I was practicing, and I definitely like got the results of that. All right, so if we just go back to the main page, actually, do you know what? It's easier for me to do that. Yeah, so that was a flavour of the practice section. And last but not least, let's have a look at the simulate section. And this is the section all about the mock exams. Now again, on the side, you can see that there are plenty of mocks. And as well as having original full mocks, so if you scroll down here, you have got, let's see, you have got 8 full mocks as well as a diagnostic mock, which will give you a flavour of, you know, your strengths and weaknesses. But as well as these 8 mocks, you also have all of these mini mocks for each individual section. So I think one thing you definitely cannot knock Medify for is amount of content. There is literally so much for you to work through, and practice really does make perfect with the UCAT. So there is lots and lots for you to work through. And as I said, the fact that it is divided up into like mini mock sections really gives you the opportunity to practice on the areas that you don't feel so confident in, as opposed to just keep going over and over sections that you do feel quite comfortable with. So there we have it. Those are just some of the tools and features that Medify has to offer that I am covering in this video. Now I do just want to say a couple of words about the UCAT exam in general, because I know that there is a lot riding on this exam, especially as it can determine whether you do or don't get an interview for medical schools. But I just want to say that this is an exam that universities use just to be able to select candidates, because there are so many students applying. And I want to make the note to say that the score that you get in this exam, as long as you get an interview and as long as you manage to secure a place, does not reflect what kind of a medical student or what kind of a doctor you're going to be in the future. And I say this because when I was sitting my exam, I remember speaking to some students who said to me, you know what, you only need 2 weeks of practice and you'll be fine. And those students only spent 2 weeks and came out with really amazing scores. Whereas I also spoke to other students who had spent weeks or if not months of practice, and their scores still weren't quite as high as some of the people who spent 2 weeks. And I'm sharing that with you now because it doesn't really matter which of those categories you fall into. I think if you are somebody who does find the UCAT quite difficult, practice really does make perfect, and don't be ashamed if you're not the kind of person who can get perfect scores in 2 weeks. If you need 4 weeks, if you need 6 weeks of practice, that is absolutely fine, and I think Medify is a really good place for you to start. So I sincerely hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will leave all of the relevant links below so you can go take a look for yourself. Take care and best of luck.